Okay, y'all. So I made it on here. Greetings. Welcome to another episode of Brown Girls Are Beautiful, y'all. I am your hostess and your melanated queen, Hoita East Zontag, y'all. It just seems like this weekend has been going by so fast. It is almost over. I have to get out of here in a little bit. I have an open house to do and I need to prepare for it. I still have documents I need to print out, but I haven't printed the stuff out yet. So, with all that being said, Guten Morgen or good AM. Guten Morgen is how you say good morning auf Deutsch in German, y'all. I woke up in a new Bugatti. No, I'm just joking. Just want y'all to wake up in a good mood. It is super early. 7:21 a.m. I'm going to go ahead and get this live stream out of the way. I'm not going to have a lot of time to stay on here and speak to you all, but I just want to go ahead and touch bases with you anyway. So today's topic, I'm not going to share any videos because YouTube was acting crazy, okay? They were acting a complete fool. So instead, I'm just going to read the article and see if that will suffice. Because they do what they want to do on these channels and stuff. But I don't know if you all have heard about the Somalis in Minnesota, specifically in Minneapolis, y'all. I didn't even know there were a bunch of. I didn't know that there was a Somali population out in Minnesota. I didn't know that. But apparently we have, foreigners are all over this country at this point. So it's no telling where people are located at this point, at this juncture, because of, America, which is not ruled by the indigenous people, we know this, but it's been taken over and conquered. And so they have opened up the borders to all nations abroad. All nations abroad are pretty much welcome here. The only people that are not welcome here are the indigenous Native American people, the people that come from this land. The brown skinned people, what they like to call blacks. We're not welcome here. They try to tell us that we're African Americans. And we know that we don't come from Africa, y'all. Now, do we have African DNA? Yes. Do we have African lineage? Yes. Well, according to history, everyone does. But when we separate ourselves, sometimes people get offended by that. And one thing I do believe in is we should not have to apologize, right, for identifying ourselves in a land from which we dwell. We should not have to apologize to make other foreigners, immigrants, illegals, aliens feel comfortable in a land that they're not from. That's one thing I don't agree with, y'all. One thing we do know is that every other nationality of people come over here. They are given benefits, resources, and they live well. All right, off the backs of the true indigenous people that built this land. Let's make no mistake about it, because that is true and that is the case. Excuse me. Let me clear my throat. Shout out to DJ Cool, y'all. I went to go see DJ Cool 5 years ago. He came out here with that girl from Total and Carl Thomas. Okay, so I can be seen, I can be heard. Shout out to me. I am going to give myself some likes. I'm going to give myself some hearts because, like I said, if you don't celebrate yourself, who else will, y'all? All right, so now that I know that I can be seen and now that I know I can be heard, let me go ahead and look at these articles for a second about the Somalis in Minnesota. So it says here, as of 2 hours ago, posted by CNN, scorned by the president, you all. Somalis in Minnesota are embraced by the state that took them in. Now, I just want to point this out. Let us leave. Let us go to other countries. And I'm not saying this is the case for all. It's not the case for all. But a lot of other countries are not going to be so welcoming. okay, of melanated females, of melanated people, from America. And why do I say that? Because the truth is all around us. All you have to do is look at how we are treated. Yeah, my microphone is all messed up. Look at how we are looked at. Look at how just there is an unspoken silence of disdain towards melanated people from America. And it's a global thing. And no, don't try to gaslight me and tell me it's all in my head. People know that this exists, but people don't talk about it because we have been made to feel like we have to be silenced and not speak to not make foreigners feel uncomfortable in our own land. All right? And I don't agree with that. So let's continue to look at this. It says people of Somali descent in Minnesota have endured a dizzying week. Okay, they've been going through deportation. On Tuesday, President Donald Trump called them garbage and sent immigration enforcement agents into the state, which is home to the nation's largest Somali diaspora. By Thursday, officials in the Department of Homeland Security were touting the arrest of a handful of Somali men whom the agency called the worst of the worst. The wrote hate mail poured into inboxes at mosques and advocacy groups. And do know that they have a lot of churches around for foreign people. Do understand that Somalis come over here just like the Hispanics and open up restaurants and hire themselves, okay? And they are very discriminatory. Not all of them. Let me make that very clear. Not all of them, but there are a percentage of them that are discriminatory against melanated people, all right, that come from America. And yet the wave of vitriol during the Trump administration's continued nationwide immigration crackdown has been met with an opposing wave of solidarity in Minnesota. State leaders have been quick to publicly embrace the community, and some of those emails flooding the inboxes of organizers were expressions of kindness. People were saying that Minnesota Somalis are as Minnesotan as tater tot hot dish, said Suleiman Adan. Here's my issue. Suleiman Adan is not indigenous to this land, right? This is the only country that I know of that allows foreigners, immigrants, people that are not from here to come over here and be involved in the politics. So why do you think that we have so many laws that protects these immigrants that come over here and defraud the government of taxpayers' dollars, right? This is why they're in large support of the Somalis because they are not Native American, indigenous people of this land. Now, you let us sit up here and try to stake claim to any benefits and resources that are owed to us, there will be so much opposition that we would have to face because we still have not received our due diligence yet, right? But you know why? Because everybody else is coming over here and benefiting from it. So, of course, they're not going to fight for us, stand up for us. None of that is going to happen. Let's continue on, y'all. So Suleiman Adnan, Deputy Executive Director of the Minnesota chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations, describing the tone and content of some of the emails comparing the community to the state's beloved casserole. Somalis are as Minnesota as the state fair. That is, we belong. So they belong more than melanated people belong here because you don't see Somalis getting shot down by the police, right? We don't see that happening. We don't see them getting discriminated against on jobs and stuff like that, being laid off for no reason, right? Being told that, they're going to have to work 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 times harder because life in America is going to knock you back down because everybody's on a secret code against the indigenous people of this land, right? And they try to make it very well known. It's an unspoken code globally, right? That when it comes to the indigenous melanated person of this land, we are looked down upon. We're seen as the lowest on the totem pole globally. Yes, globally, you all. Let's keep going. In the unfamiliar glare of the national spotlight, Minnesotans with roots from the East African country of Somalia have felt pulled in two directions, singled out by an American president who has called attention to a massive and still unfolding case of pandemic era fraud, but embraced by the state that offered them refuge from a vicious and bloody civil war decades ago. Now, let me just say this. My daddy went to Somalia back in the 90s, y'all. So he missed when I did, believe in Christmas. He missed Christmas. He missed a lot of months with us, y'all. Birthdays, celebrations, holidays. He missed a lot of things, going to our gymnastics practice. He missed a lot because he was over in Somalia. You know what my daddy told me? Their commander or whoever was in charge, they were firing at them, shooting at them basically, and they were being told that they could not shoot back. I think that's crazy. But anyway, let's keep going. So it's a bunch of nonsense. But he did make friends with people when he went out to these other places, Russians, people from Russia, um, and he said he had conversations with these people, and they said, "Our problem is not with you; it's with the white man." He was telling us that this is what the Russian people were telling him. And then even the Somalians, he was just saying, how they were as well. Everything is not how you see it in the media, y'all. You have to go by your own life experience. So let's keep going. Salman Fikwe, or Fiki, a Somali small business owner who supported Trump and ran for state representative as a Republican last year, said the president's latest comments were the straw that broke the camel's back when it comes to his backing of the Minnesota GOP. It's very unpresidential coming from the commander in chief of the United States to dehumanize. Listen to this, y'all. To dehumanize a whole entire community by calling them garbage. But yet, and still, melanated females and melanated males of this land are dehumanized every day, and it's normalized, right? It's normalized in society and on a global scale for us to be dehumanized. It's normalized. And that's okay. But see, when it comes to be one of them, now there's all this outrage, everyone's speaking out on a public platform, they're utilizing their resources. But when have they ever joined in solidarity with the true indigenous people of this land who have still and are still being systematically oppressed financially, economically, and basically civilly on a civic level? Nothing said about the real estate discrimination that we have endured. And this is why the Housing Act of 1968 had to be put into place so that our indigenous people could actually practice real estate and operate in real estate. This is why I stress so heavily for melanated people in particular to be homeowners, because we don't understand how important that is for us to start owning, because you get Africans that come over here and own houses, y'all. These people live well. Don't let them fool you. What you see on that TV, the media is false, okay? It's not telling you everything. Um, he said this is not acceptable. Fiki said he doesn't regret voting for Trump and shares some of his conservative values, but is critical of the state Republican leaders for not standing up for the Somali community. The surge of federal immigration agents in the state this week has spread fear in the Somali community. Fiki said, "I sympathize with them," he said, of the Somali diaspora. Let this be a lesson to the indigenous people of this land. If you are in America and you have been born, if you're born here and you're from here, you see how these Somalis are sticking together? That's one thing that melanated people here in the United States have not learned how to do. Y'all are so focused on Candy and Todd. Y'all are so focused on everything outside of yourselves, like Beyonce and Brandy's beef. Who cares? Who cares? Everything here has to be a freaking battle and a competition. Who cares about these people? Do you think the Somalis come over here worrying about celebrities? No, they don't. They don't come over here worrying about this. And this is why they get so much further ahead, because they actually practice solidarity and unity amongst their community. And they make sure they look out for one another, just like the Hispanics. But do American melanated people do that? No, they don't. Then they show us a woman and child hold hands as they walk down a street in the predominantly Somali neighborhood of Cedar Riverside in Minneapolis in May of 2022. Now, I guess this is supposed to pull on our heartstrings and, tug at our empathy and at our sympathy because, and my camera is trying to focus on my face and not this picture. But yeah, this is supposed to pull on us and, our empathy and our sympathy and all of that. And we're supposed to feel so sorry for every other nationality that comes over here with children, right? But we have children right here that are suffering. Prior to the 1990s, there were very few Somalis living in Minnesota. The early part of that decade saw the Somali government collapse as the country descended into violence. And like I told you, my daddy went over there back in the 90s. And for some reason, these countries are always going to war, and America is always going over there helping them with resources or intervening in some form or fashion. And then they benefit. And then basically, toot their nose up at the indigenous melanated people of this land. I don't understand that. I'm going to tell you why I say that in just a moment. All right. The early part of the decade saw the Somali government collapse as the country descended into violence. Millions of residents were displaced or ultimately fled seeking refuge and asylum. This is what they always say. I fled because of the war. If you ever talk to other people that come over here from other nations, most of them are going to tell you, like Bosnia. I spoke to, she worked at my dermatologist's office, y'all. I asked her, what was she doing here? She said, because of the war. I spoke to some men that were from, I think it was Sudan and different parts of Africa. A lot of them come over here because their country is in warfare, y'all. People had nowhere to go, said Abdi Ismail Samatar, a distinguished University of Minnesota geography professor, researcher, and author who left Somalia 34 years ago. The schools, the hospitals, the security systems, everything collapsed like nowhere else in the world at that point in time. Now, were the comments that Donald Trump said about Somalis kind of disparaging? I think he could have used different choice of language, but much like the Indians that come from India. Their country, compared to America, looks like they're a third world country, y'all. But they come over here and toot their noses up at melanated indigenous people of this land. Let's keep going. Somalis fled to nearly every continent on the planet, but Minnesota became an epicenter. The immigrants were drawn to the Star State by job opportunities at meatpacking plants in rural areas where demand for workers far outstripped the supply, said Ahmad Ismail Yusuf, a Minnesota author, writer, and playwright who wrote Somali in Minnesota. They found out that there were other jobs no one was taking, like janitors or in the hospitality industry, car rental agencies, taxi driving, he said in an interview with CNN. The state's generous offering of social services was another magnet. So even the jobs that nobody wanted was a step up for those people. Okay. That was a come up for them because they were not able to do the same thing in their land. And y'all, I actually have in my phone saved a receipt that I took from this guy from Mexico. He was sending money back home. So 200 American dollars transferred over to Mexico is like 4,000 pesos. I have it saved in my phone. So those Somali people and Africans, all of them are doing the same thing. They make money and send it back to their country. They are not supporting your businesses. All right. They're coming over here and starting businesses and hiring their own people. So they come over here and reap the benefits of America and want to look down upon you and tell you, oh, you're not doing enough. You're not working hard enough. Well, we did it. Why can't you? These people are receiving benefits and resources, y'all. The Americas are set up. North America is set up for these people to come over here and reap benefits that are not given to you, but your taxpayer dollars are paying for it. And you have no say so how your money is delegated. So by you working, you're really taking care of these people while they come over here and want to toot their noses up at you. It says that helped the elderly people who had fallen behind the cracks, and young people who didn't have anything were able to sustain themselves and put families together, Samatar said. So then the kids who came here in their early teens and 10 to 15 years are graduating from high school, from college, and become lawyers, doctors, nurses, and school teachers. And yes, there are African people that do come over here and do that. Okay. Over the decades, a snowball effect took hold as the Somali diaspora reached a critical mass in Minnesota, pulling in still more friends and relatives from abroad. and other U.S. states. Now, let me tell you also, too, I think um, American people, sometimes you can become complacent here, and you get comfortable not understanding the resources that you have at your disposal. So these people come over here and take advantage of the education system, even though I know that they're miseducating us on purpose about our history. They come over here not learning about our history, not understanding the fabric of the socio-economic situation that we're under and faced with, and think that they know better than we know because we've been living here for so long. We have been undergoing the oppression, something that they really are not privy to, right? And then they want to make pass judgment. Today, with 84,000 of the state's roughly 108,000 Somali Americans concentrated in the Twin Cities, the contingent has become a potent voting bloc in the region. So much so that it powered the rise of Inan Omar, a progressive Democrat who in 2017 became the first Somali American lawmaker in the nation. She was elected to Congress 2 years later. Now, like I said, do we ever go to other nations and become uh, part of their political campaign? Are we sitting at the board to make any decisions in their countries? No, we're not. And we need to be sitting in our own countries making our decisions in the political campaign trails. But as we have seen, a lot of times melanated people face so much scrutiny just because they're melanated indigenous people of this land. It is acceptable for foreigners, for immigrants, even from Africa to come over here, all right, and make decisions about our country. Let's keep going. She was again on Trump's mind days after a report in a journal published by a conservative think tank about the fraud scandal in Minnesota. So if you didn't know about this, it says as much as $300 million dollars and has led to charges against dozens of people, the vast majority of them of Somali descent. So they were defrauding the government funds, which, as we all know, are taxpayers' money. So people that go to work every single day, people that go out here and pay their taxes, and money is taken from your checks, and the government, or the IRS tells you at the end of the tax year that, oh, you owe this money to us. They take the money and they actually delegate the funds and spend it however they want. We have no say so over it, but it takes care of all these immigrants that come over here and want to look down on American, Native American, indigenous people of this land. Trump had referenced the scandal, which diverted money meant to feed children during the pandemic to fraudsters a week before Thanksgiving, or basically the slaughtering of your ancestors, which is a pagan holiday, which a lot of people don't know about that, okay? Calling Minnesota a hub of fraudulent money laundering activity, as he announced plans to terminate temporary protected status for Somali residents in the state. On Tuesday, he disparaged Omar during a rambling monologue at a cabinet meeting. Ilan Omar is garbage, he said. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. Omar responded on X that Trump's obsession with her is creepy. I hope he gets the help he desperately needs, she said. All right. And let's keep going. Around the same time, an immigration and customs enforcement operation targeting undocumented Somali immigrants launched in Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minnesota. St. Paul is actually the capital, y'all. The vast majority of Somalis are here legally. In a Thursday news release, DHS said it had arrested 12 criminal illegal aliens during what is called Operation Metro Surge, y'all. Now they just did Charlotte's Web, Operation Charlotte's Web. Now they have gone over to Minnesota. In the Twin Cities, 5 of them are from Somalia, according to the statement. Meanwhile, public officials in Minnesota have taken pains to show their solidarity with the Somali community. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara joined an interfaith prayer circle. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey made the rounds Wednesday at a mall that caters primarily to the Somali population. You see how they all come over here and get catered to? All immigrants come over here and get catered to, right? But Native Americans, indigenous people of this land, had the land stolen, have been butchered, have been slaughtered, and y'all have holidays celebrating the feasting of the beheading of our ancestors, right? And everybody takes part in that and calls it a holiday. You see how they slap us in our face? Nobody wants to talk about that truth. On Friday, U.S. Senate Amy Klobuchar appeared at the same place, the Carmel Mall, to show her support. She was thronged by a small but enthusiastic crowd of onlookers, many of whom sought to have their photo taken with her. And then, as a former prosecutor, I'm strongly in favor of prosecuting these fraud cases, she told CNN, walking down a corridor that included tailor shops, eateries, cell phone accessory stores, and garment boutiques. However, what the president has done here is indict an entire group of people, their businesses, police officers, and firefighters in our state, and we've got to stand there with them, she said. Who's going to stand there with the Somalis? Are you going to go out there and protest with them? Are they protesting with us for our civil rights, for our systematic oppression economically on a global scale? I don't think so. Muhammad Ali Hassan, the president of a nonprofit with an office at the mall, condemned Trump's use of the term garbage, adding that such dehumanizing terms should never be described for the people. Okay? There's a Somali proverb, he said: an insulting or cursing mouth is on the person who curses. Somalis weren't the only immigrants in Minnesota to receive hate mail in the wake of Trump's comments. Taha Samaru, a board member at the Tawfiq Islamic Center in Minneapolis, said she fled Ethiopia due to political repression. Samaru, who arrived in the land of 10,000 lakes in 2005, said she'd never seen a xenophobic email until this week. The message was reviewed by CNN. There are plenty of xenophobic emails, y'all. We basically, as realtors, just received an email from the real estate commission, okay, telling us that they apologize for the discriminatory practices that have been taking place. You know why? Because melanated people are discriminated against every single day in this country, and nobody says a word. Let's keep going. Jelani Hussein, executive director of the Minnesota chapter of CAIR, said he believes Trump's attacks will ultimately make the state's Somali community stronger. I think it's giving us a chance for many Americans to learn about the Somali community, and not only that, but also to see the resilience, he said. Also, it's giving Somali Americans a chance to own their American identity and fight for it. Why aren't they fighting for this in their country? Let's keep going. Abdi Samatar, the geography professor, echoed the sentiment. That's the future of the country, the civic bonds. People who say, not on our watch, not on this group, not on that group, not on any group for that matter, he said. While at the same time, every community looks inside itself and says, we're not going to allow some of our members to do these kind of things. Y'all are coming to America, y'all. Do I agree with the language that was chosen? No, I don't. But if these Somalians are coming over here and committing fraud, okay, on the taxpayers' money that's given to the government, $300 million. Do you know how many hungry uh, people are out there that come from this land? Do you know how many people that have worked for years and have been laid off and they cannot get benefits from the government? Do you know how many children are out there being hungry that were born here, that are American people, that are not reaping any of this $300 million? But $300 million went to the Somalis and they defrauded the system. I don't agree with that because we paid for that. Okay. And I'm tired of every year the IRS gets to tell us if we made too much, if we owe them money. That's ridiculous. And I don't think that they would be in their own country being able to get all these rights, because if that were the case, they would still be over there. They come over here, and every nation does it, y'all. It's every nation. The Indians do it. The people from the Middle East come over here and demand their rights. The Hispanics come over here and demand their rights. The Mexicans, all of them do the same thing. But when it comes to American melanated people, oh, we can't demand anything because then we're victim shamed, we're victimized, or we're oh, you're a victim, your victimhood, you're a victim, right? And then you're just complaining. No, we're not just complaining. We're telling you what's really going on over here. We have been systematically oppressed on a global scale, and it starts here in America because this is really where it started. We have been economically disenfranchised, and this is on a global scale. You get every other nationality that gets to come over here and start businesses, and nobody messes with them. They have taco trucks on every gas station on a corner, like McDonald's and Bank of America. Nobody bothers these people. You let melanated people go out here with a tent and a table, set up in a just in a parking lot, and all of a sudden the police has to come. What are you doing? They're trying to wash cars. They are trying to make money. They're trying to sell merchandise, and they get shut down automatically. So don't tell American people, especially melanated people, that they're not doing enough. They're not trying enough. People come over here and don't understand the real enemy here is the true indigenous people of this land. You know why we are attacked the most? Because we are from here. They came over here and conquered this territory. And then you get every other nationality that comes over here and lives well. They reap the benefits off the backs of our ancestors, and then they want to look down on us. I'm going to tell you a story about Africans. Not all Africans are this way, but a lot of Africans look down on melanated people as well. And they can act like they don't, but they do. All right. And this goes on, and people don't talk about it. And I'm going to talk about it. I don't care if you don't like it, unsubscribe. I don't care if you dislike the video, but I'm going to share my truth. I'm going to share my experience, and nobody's going to stop me from talking about my walk of life with these other people and these other territories. So, I used to tutor second and fourth grade, at the school. And I don't treat children how their parents treat us, right? Because they have a lot of biases when they come over here. So one of the girls, she was of some type of Asian descent, and every time she saw me, she would give me a hug. She would pull my chair out for me when it was time for tutoring. She was in second grade, her and this other girl. Now, this other girl, she was from Eritrea. Beautiful. They were the sweetest little things, and I just loved working with them, right? And I'm not going to mention their names. There was another girl, and she was from, I think she was from Eritrea, something like that. And every time, I'm telling you, they used to get so excited every time we worked together. So finally, it was time for them to have an assembly at the school. So they had a rewards assembly, and I was actually working that day. So I went to the award assembly, and I sat down, and I was watching the children get their awards and stuff like that. And so one of the girls, she got excited when she saw me, the second grader from Eritrea. And she was like, "This is my mom, this is my dad." And she was like, "Mom, Dad, this is my tutor." She was so excited to introduce me to her parents because she loved working with me, and I made tutoring fun. So don't you know, her father looked at me like this look of like, "What are you doing speaking to me?" The feeling that he gave me, and the mother didn't even speak to me, but the feeling that he gave me was like, "I'm above you, I'm better than you, and what are you doing even talking to me?" That is the look that he gave me. He didn't even really speak. He didn't want to shake my hand, nothing. So my sentiments for these people from Africa, and from, a lot of people keep telling me that I look like I come from Ethiopia, which is in East Africa. They've always told my sister that. I get a lot of Africans asking me, "What part of Africa are you from? You look like you're from Africa." And I probably do have features from that land. I'm not going to ever negate the fact that I have some lineage from there deep down in my ancestry. But what I am saying is, I was born here. I have Native Indigenous American, roots here. And so my great grandmother was a Native American Indian, or whatever you want to call or classify them as, Mattapanai, and all of that. My thing is, why is it that melanated people felt like we could embrace these Africans, embrace these people, and they look down on us when they come here? Like I said, that feeling that he gave me, and I'm working with his child, let me know that they come over here and really think they're above us, and they think we're beneath them. So in that instance, and that, I had to really put things into perspective. These African people come over here, and they really don't mess with us like that, American people. They don't really mess with you like that, especially if you are what they like to classify as a Black American. You are looked down upon by the African people that come over here. And when you go to their country, they live basically in a third world country. They have no, their plumbing needs to be updated. Okay, they don't have an infrastructure. Their land washes away. They don't have solid construction over there. That's why they come over here. That's why all these other nations flock over here, because their countries are not upgraded how this country is. So when they come over here, they say, oh, yes, America's so great. It's so great because they're not accustomed to a lot of the luxuries that we have here as far as our plumbing, our electrical, and even just things that we take for granted. But when it comes to the grand scale of how we're treated on a global level, we're treated the worst here. We are hated the most. So this is why I said American indigenous people, we really need to stick together more when it comes to business practices, when it comes to owning real estate, when it comes to investing our money into ourselves. Stop being so supportive of these people. Africans talk about us just like, a lot of the Asian people. You can't understand what they're saying. You don't speak English. Some of the Hispanics, they talk about us. We are hated on by so many people, even our own people, that we really need to get it together. That's why I entitled this video, "This is the truth that nobody wants to hear." Nobody wants to hear the real, you know, solid truth about a lot of these Africans. It's not all of them, because I've had a lot of African people embrace me. And, there are a lot of African people that are very, kind, but there are a lot of them that look down upon us because of what has been told to them by, the European people. Right? They lie on us. They tell a bunch of lies, and maybe it's things that they've seen in the media, because, the media has basically glamorized the dehumanization of melanated people here. They always want to show us as robbers, as being uncivilized. They show the worst of us on, a national level, on an international level at that. So we don't know what lies they've been fed in their other on their in their own countries. But my thing is this: I feel like if I'm going to enter into someone else's country, I'm not going to look down upon them. When I went to Germany, I wasn't looking down on the Germans. If anything, the Germans were staring at us. They were staring at me like they've never seen a melanated person before. I was a child back then, and these grown men and their sons would look at me and stare. I thought it was the rudest thing, and I would stare back at them at, my very young age. I'm looking at them like, what are you looking at? Y'all, so many lies have been told on us. And it's like when you get over here, you think that, oh, yes, we're going to unite in unity. Look, those people don't look at us the same way. They're not looking at us as someone that we can embrace one another and come together as people. I get excited, to learn about other cultures or, other nationalities, and find out what they think about America. What do you feel about America? What brought you here? Learning about their history, their background. But when it comes to them, they want to separate, y'all. They don't want to unify. And that goes on for a lot of them. So don't be misled. I have to say this: don't be misled by these people, y'all. They come over here to benefit themselves. They come over to help themselves, even though have made it possible for this to happen. So don't let them make you feel bad about, oh, you're lazy. Because I've heard people say that, people have told them that they're lazy and stuff like that. Come over here because they reap benefits that they don't give to us. Y'all, we are still living under oppression over here. People don't want to hear that truth, but it's true. It's true. And I'm not going to sugarcoat this message for anybody to feel better. I'm not going to feel bad for telling the truth about what's going on here, because we're living it every day. And if they don't like it, too bad. You know what I'm saying? And that's the part that gets me, is because, yeah, I'm going to try to turn this light back on. So many people come over here and feel like, oh, we have to watch what we say around, the Africans. We have to watch what we say around these people. No, we don't. They're coming over here. So basically, see, somebody's coming into your land, somebody's coming to your house, making you feel uncomfortable, and you have to watch what you say around them. Nobody told them to come over here, come into your house and look down upon you people. Nobody told them to do that, but this is what they do. So do I feel empathy and sympathy for the Somalis, y'all? Let me think about it for a second. Do they feel empathy and sympathy for how we've been treated? Let's answer that question. Do they feel any type of way about how we are treated over here, systematically as a whole? Sorry, y'all. Trying to light this. Trying to turn this light back on. I have a short. I have a short in my ring light. I'm gonna probably have to order another one. Do they feel any type of empathy or sympathy for us? But yet, we're supposed to always have empathy and sympathy for these people, y'all. I'm over it. You know who I have empathy and sympathy for? Me and the people that are like me. Me and the people that know what we've gone through, that my ancestors that have basically, built this country and been through a lot, a lot of things that it's not put on the forefront, it's not talked about, it's overlooked, it's been made to feel like it's okay. They've been dehumanized. They have been economically disenfranchised. They work and work and work, and so many people, y'all want to say that, oh, black people are lazy. My grandmother worked and retired from her job, and she was an independent woman and lived by herself up until the age of 85 years old. Y'all, they had to take her keys. She used to cut her own grass. She had an acre. They had an acre of land out there. Okay, so don't tell me that, oh, black women are lazy. Y'all are talking about some of the ones that like to live on the off the system. And I don't agree with that. I don't agree that you should make that a lifestyle. I don't believe that you should go around having a bunch of kids and, thinking that everybody else should take care of your children. Yeah, I don't agree with that type of stuff. I think you should actually plan for your future, y'all. I think you should make the most out of your life, get the most education and the best education that you can. And if you can't afford to get an education, go read books. The library is free, right? So at this point in time, there is no reason to not to have some type of knowledge. You jump over here again. I'm about to spray this cat, y'all. So yeah, there are a lot of things that people don't take advantage of over here, and I think, they don't understand that if they lived in one of these third world countries, they would come over here too and feel the same way. Oh, America is so great. But you have a lot of black Americans, quote unquote black Americans, that feel the opposite. A lot of us are ready to leave. A lot of us, I've got my passport. I've been telling people, y'all get ready, and I don't know if they're taking me seriously or not. But I am looking towards leaving America and going somewhere else because I'm tired of it. I am tired of the oppression. I'm tired of being under like this. It's like a blanket of oppression and like a bunch of, I can't even describe. It's like a weight that gets put on you when you live here in America as a melanated female. By that aspect, that's what I'm saying. That people don't even understand, and when you talk about it, it's overlooked. They don't want to hear about it. No matter what you do, it's never enough. You're always going to be looked down upon by not all. Okay, so let me just say that, but by a lot of whites because they have a sense of thinking that they're, you know, um, inferior, not inferior. They think they're superior, which they're not. Because if they were so superior, why didn't they go back to Europe? Why didn't they go back to their own country? I had this white lady tell me the other day. She said, because I understand. She said, I understand my white privilege. And she wasn't saying to be offensive. We were just having a conversation. Now, she doesn't like Trump at all. She's not a conservative and she gets into it. And y'all, I was in her neighborhood, and she lives in like this multi-million dollar neighborhood. And I posted some of the houses on this channel so y'all could see it. And it's a gated community, so you have to have like a code to get in the gate. But she was just telling me like her brother and I think his wife, she can't stand them. She said she lives in the basement. But she doesn't like the fact that they are so oblivious, to a lot of things that people have to go through because he makes like, she said like a bonus for him is like $3 million for a bonus. That's nothing. And that's just the bonus. So you got a lot of people that have lived in privilege. And when people really talk about most of what people go through, they could care less, y'all. And that's kind of how like a lot of these foreigners come over here and these immigrants come over here. They could care less because over in their country they were suffering. When they came here, they struck gold. Okay. So they're looking out for themselves and their people. And melanated people, if you're from this land, you're seen as collateral damage. Nobody cares about you. So you need to start caring about yourself. Stop being in competition with each other, y'all. Because until you really start uniting, you're not going to have any power. Until you really start standing on business, y'all claim y'all like to stand on business. Start boycotting a lot of these businesses. Start boycotting a lot of these Asian stores, getting your nails done by these Asians, getting your hair supplies from these Asians because they don't care about you. They take the money and send it back to their own country. They live in a highly affluent neighborhood, y'all. All the open houses that I do, Most of the Caucasians are coming there. You'll get some Asians coming in, you get Middle Easterns coming in, and you'll get Hispanics. Very, very low population, very low percentage of melanated people are coming into these multi-million dollar houses or $1 million houses at that. Pretty much, if the house is $500,000 or more, melanated people are not coming into those houses. And another thing, melanated people are not even thinking about home ownership, y'all. They are renters. A vast majority of melanated people are renting, 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 renting. And this is why they're going through, that whole cyclical cycle of not owning and not building wealth in that aspect. Now, you might be investing, but investing is going to take longer than if you were in your house for about 3 to 5 years, and you could gain about $100,000 in equity. And that's the difference. Melanated people have a whole different way of thinking economically, and it's really not doing any justice or any good for you financially, y'all. So stop investing into Jordans, stop investing into hair weaves, stop investing into weed, and start investing into things that really matter, like stocks, things that are going to grow exponentially, things that are going to help you. And it might take some discipline, but you can do it, y'all. $20. 20 Start with $20. Start with 100, 500, 1,000, whatever you have. It doesn't matter. Do something for yourselves, okay? Start building wealth for yourself, y'all. Let me see how long I've been on here for 45 minutes. I have to go get ready for this open house. I need to wash my hair, but I have to print out some stuff. I don't know if I'm going to wash my hair now. Maybe probably when I get back from the open house. Um, I'll probably wash my hair then, y'all. But this has been an episode with Brown Girls Are Beautiful. Comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Like the video, share the video, subscribe if you like the commentary. If you don't like the commentary, it's too bad. I don't care. Because this is the reality of what we're dealing with here in America, and somebody needs to tell the truth. And people like to be lied to, y'all. They like a beautiful lie here. They don't like the ugly truth. I'm not going to sugarcoat something for foreign invaders. I'm not going to sugarcoat something for somebody that has basically come into my territory on my land. Yes, I'm claiming it because I was born here and my people come from here. They get all the benefits, reap all the benefits for something that not just myself, but my ancestors have built because my money went into this system and they get to benefit from it. And then when American, melanated people may need some economic help, they're looked down upon. They're turned down. They're not given any help, you know? So I'm not going to apologize for that. If you don't like it, too bad. This is not complaining. This is the truth. And sometimes the truth has to be told exactly how it is, y'all. The picture is not beautiful. And that's the problem. You want to sugarcoat things to make people feel comfortable. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything for invaders and immigrants and foreigners because they don't sugarcoat anything for us. They make it very known when they get here how they feel about us, by how they treat us, how they interact with us, how it is if you go in their store and they're looking at you like you're a thief, how they treat you. They only care about your money, but not you. Your life doesn't matter to them, okay? So anyway, y'all, I'm going to sign out. Shout out to Brown Girls Are Beautiful. Shout out to the indigenous people of this land, the ultimate warriors, the spiritual warriors. If you are a true indigenous Native American of America, shout out to you, y'all. My golden glowers, my bronze beauties, and my caramel cuties. Brown girls are beautiful. Hence, that's what it says right here. If you don't like it, too bad. All right? I don't care. All right. And I'm going to like my own video, give myself some hearts and 100 to myself because I know that what I'm saying are all facts. If you don't like it, you know what to do. Sign out. All right, y'all. Um, Make sure you are definitely building a business for yourself and start investing into you. Don't worry about anybody else because all these foreigners that come over here, they're worried about their own affairs. They're worried about their own families and their own people. And when it gets to politics, they're only advocating for themselves. They're not advocating for you, melanated people. Please get that through your head. Stop thinking that we stand in solidarity with these people from Africa because those people in Africa are not thinking about you like that. They're thinking about themselves, their community, and their people. That's it. They're on a mission for themselves. There are some of them that do embrace us. There are some of them that can blend in with us and they do look like us and everything like that. But there are some that don't. And we just have to take it for what it is. Take that information and do with it as you will, y'all. I am going to sign out. Shout out to all of you out there that like this channel, that embrace this channel. Continue to walk in your divinity, celebrate yourself, because if you don't, who else will, y'all? All right, y'all, signing out. Y'all take care, stay blessed. Bye.